Yeah, now the forum is open for discussion. It's a very interesting case to decide on a company should export or company has to decide on foreign direct investment by way of producing in a foreign country. On what basis of that you are going to take decision? That's insights in this case. Baptiste, can you take lead on discussion?
Sorry?
Can you take the lead?
I will pass this time. Thanks.
Gregor? It's a very interesting case. And in case if you are not, discussing, I'm not sure to what extent you understand the insights from this case. Yeah?
It was really clear what they said, so I don't have any questions. It was really clear. Justified.
Samuel?
No, I agree with what Gregor says. It's very clear and there's a lot of different strategic options.
So how many strategic options they had, and according to your judgment, do you think that they have to only decide on focusing on exports, or should they decide to set up a plan in foreign country? So what's your decision? What would you recommend? Yeah?
I would make the same recommendation as they did to seek for a joint venture abroad, because I think it was very interesting. They showed the different advantages of seeking for a joint venture abroad, and they were right in fact. So I would choose their option of seeking to implement a cooperation.
So where would you set up the joint venture? Which countries would be your target market? Or why can't you think about focusing on exporting? Because in this case, exporting could be also a feasible idea for them. If they are exporting, they can also get the tax rebates on imports of the items which they can use for producing, which can be exported, because Turkish government gives incentive in this case. If you import something which you will be using for manufacturing the items which you will later export, you don't have to pay import duty in that case. Otherwise, you have to pay import duty.
Yes, but what was interesting for the joint venture is that they profit by the technology and the know-how of the company they are aligning with. So, but by exporting only, they will have to know perfectly the markets, and it won't be feasible in the short term. I mean, they will have to make strong studies on the markets they will target and this kind of stuff in order to know perfectly the market they are targeting, they are tapping. But by doing a joint venture abroad, they are profiting by the experience of the company they are aligning with. So that's what I think it's the most interesting.
Yeah.
So in the case of this company, what kind of market research can possibly carry out?
They are targeting, of course, in fact, they have the target market Middle East as well as Europe, and they have to decide on whether they're going to focus on Middle East or Europe. And they have to carry out, like in Middle East, they say that the construction activities are booming and there could be demand for their products. And at the same time, they're also trying their best to market their products in European countries as well. So would you suggest them to focus on Middle East or Europe based on their presentation, or would you ask any questions to them relating to that?
Obviously, they should focus on Middle East because there the construction activities are going on. Not only that, they could focus on more other big countries as well, because a lot of infrastructure developments are going on in those countries. Like, I don't know when this case has been written, but way back, 2 years back, the China was globbing up all these steels all over the world. They were building facilities for the Olympics and all. India is also doing great. They can focus on those markets as well at the same moment. Yeah, but in order to have a presence in Europe, they can go for it. And it's better to export in European countries rather, and go for manufacturing facilities in the countries where the demand is very much.
Yeah, they have to initially focus on exporting because they have not yet achieved success in export business. They have achieved 30% market share in their own country, but they haven't achieved success in export business. Maybe in short span, like 1 year, they can think about exporting and try to achieve success and try to see to what extent people in other countries would accept their products. And after 1 year, they can think about setting up a joint venture production unit in somewhere in Europe or somewhere in Middle East, maybe one in Europe as well, because Turkey is not a EU country, and EU countries impose a lot of restrictions on non-EU countries. And that way, if Turkish company can set up a factory in anywhere in the EU, it might help them to market in a better way in EU. Yeah.
But Turkey is not a EU country.
Turkey has applied for EU membership, but EU members are not in favor of Turkey.
So not yet, right?
Not yet.
So.
EU members would say Turkey is not in Europe, they are in Asia.
Yeah.
And in fact, those initial exports will also boost their economies of scale and lower the charges, cost of production, so that they can also fight in the home stage as well, because the cost of production will be minimized and they can.
Yeah, so here one important insight I want to talk to you is, in many countries, if you are an exporter, if you are going to import some raw materials or machineries to use as part of your production process, as part of whatever you're going to produce, which you will export later, you don't have to pay import duty. Most of the governments have devised a system. If you're importing something which is going to be used for producing some kind of output which you will export later, you get import duty exemption. In this case also, the company is getting import duty exemption that way if they are importing something and they are already importing raw material to manufacture the items which they are selling in their own country, Turkey. And if they are producing and selling in Turkey and importing raw material and manufacturing the item to sell in Turkey, as of now they are paying import duty. But if they are exporting the items, exporting the final output, final product, using the imported raw materials, they don't have to pay. They have an advantage. They don't have to pay import tax on raw material imports. So that's a plus point in this case. That way, they have to necessarily think about export strategy. In the short run. In long run, they can think about joint venture basis production. But in long run, or in short run, they should not think about joint venture production because they haven't achieved success. An organization in its growth process, I would always recommend in the beginning, in the infancy stage of going global, you have to start with exporting. And after a couple of years, you can think about production abroad by way of joint venture, setting up your own subsidiary. This is not a big multinational. So that way, it's always advisable for them to start with exporting and achieve success in exports. Later, think about joint venture production. Any other questions? Virginia? Gregor? Boris? Okay. Thank you very much. Let's invite next group to make the presentation of Tata Group. Finish. Yes.